let's see. What characters are most like you, and what storylines are in the same universe? I'm going to come back to that first question in a moment. But for the second question, I'll just give a rule of thumb here. The rule of thumb is that if a story was written by me and it takes place in the same time period, past, present, future, or in the same setting, be it a fictional modern, fictional fantasy, accurate modern, you name it, they're probably in the same universe. Minus the domestic bliss audios, because unless you're thinking of a different guy in each and every audio, because let's face it, one guy does not have that much time to spend with every girl, and I think if he did, goodness, does he have one heck of a story to explain. And picture this as well, regarding that whole same time period, because this is still headcanon for me, and I've alluded to this in a couple of shorts. So, Zach Salvatore, the man from the Mobster audio, is heading down the street one day. It's morning. He's just getting his morning coffee, and appears to have a slight delay. Well, thankfully, a waiter from a local restaurant nearby is helping him out. As Zach leaves, he can't recall the guy's name, but he does remember just one thing. The ridiculous puns this guy kept making. Kind of bugged Zach a little bit, but it bugged him in a bit of a charming way, he says. Kind of charming in a gawky kind of way, is how Zach described him. And walked on with the rest of his day. So yes, these characters are actually in the same universe. Now, as for the first question, which character is most like you? That is a very hard one. I will have to think more in depth. I try to make these characters very different from myself, but of course, just like any author, be it professional or amateur, like myself, they will slip in bits and pieces of their personality into different characters, or bits and pieces of personality from people they love to be around, family, friends, you name it. I'd say the obvious answer is the aforementioned. Oh, this is going to sound so cheesy, but you know what? I don't care. I live off of cheese. I don't like cheese, probably for the same reason a diabetic doesn't want sugar. There's already enough cheese in my life, and any more is probably going to kill me. I'd say that with that in mind, most of the domestic bliss audios are probably more like me. Gosh. I say most because some of the, one or two of the commissions, namely the making up after a fight audio, where a guy complains about a woman cooking for him. Okay, I read that in the script, and I about wanted to yeet this sucker out the window and be like, sorry, pal, she's mine now. My wife now, go find your own. Like, forget it. I know couples complain about some of the dumbest things sometimes, but that's just part of life. And please do not let that make you nervous if that's something that you're worried about in a relationship, like settling down with somebody only to find out they're a piece of trash. Date them long enough so that you will find what they're like when they're at their worst, and make sure they see you at your worst. If you don't like yourself when you're at your worst, hopefully you're self-aware about that, and I'm pretty sure 90% of people are, then you already know what needs to be fixed, and you already know what to avoid in somebody else too. But on top of that, make sure that you truly see somebody at their best. Because one thing I do like to portray in some of these domestic bliss audios, and one thing I did actually want to portray in that other audio, boy, this short is going on very long, but I'll wrap it up right here, is that both audios, the recent domestic bliss making up after a fight, and some of the other more flirtatious, lovey-dovey audios, do, in my experience and my own observation, represent more the best and the worst in a relationship, you know? So, but if we're going off of character, I'd say, like said, a lot of the domestic bliss audios kind of sound like things that I would do myself. And especially the improvised ones, like any of the holiday audios. Yeah, that's just, those were actually just inspired by me saying, you know, I really would like to be with somebody in this holiday, even if I do like being with myself. I wonder how many other people want to be with somebody. I wonder if I should make a little audio just to give them that same feel, fill that little temporary void, encourage them to go spend time with loved ones, you know? And thus, we get to our holiday videos. But as far as actual developed characters, I will have to get back to you on that one. I'd say that, as you no doubt know, the flirtatious waiter definitely has a lot of my goofball tendencies. Cetaphil has much more of my, or Cetaphil, the friendly dragon, has much more of my curious, wanting to get to know you, aspect. the more I hope that you value yourself the way I see a type of mannerisms. Maybe not to the point where I feel like an awkward human being that's kind of out of place, although my actions may definitely portray that. I definitely say that, that you might see one or two mannerisms slip in here and there from different characters. Oh yes, and finally, love of a king. The hapless romantic side. The dialed up times 1,000 for his character, no doubt, but yes. Oh man. The hapless romantic for sure. I hope that answers your question, Trisket. Until next time.